It was a cold, rainy night in the Pacific Northwest. A Boeing 727 climbed into the darkness over southwestern Washington. Its rear stairs lowered into the freezing slipstream, preparing for a jump that would become aviation's greatest mystery. On a cold November night in 1971, an unidentified passenger stood near the rear stairs of Flight 305. Most enduring aviation mysteries. Moments later, the mysterious passenger vanished into the stormy night and was never conclusively identified again. The legend of D.B. Cooper had begun. No one saw him land. Despite one of the largest search operations in FBI history, no body was ever recovered. And to this day, not a single person knows for sure who he was or what happened to him. This is the story of the only unsolved skyjacking in American commercial aviation history. The mystery became known around the world, and the man behind it would forever remain unidentified. On the afternoon of November 24, 1971, the day before Thanksgiving, a quiet story began at Portland International Airport. A quiet, unassuming man walked toward the airline ticket counter, looking no different from the many travelers around him. He paid cash for a one-way ticket to Seattle, traveling under the name Dan Cooper. He carried a dark attaché case and wore a dark suit, a white shirt, a narrow black tie, and polished loafers. Nothing about his appearance seemed unusual. Nothing about him suggested danger. He looked like just another businessman traveling home for the Thanksgiving holiday. To everyone around him, he was simply another businessman heading home for the holiday. No one could have imagined what would happen next. He boarded Flight 305, a short journey from Portland to Seattle, appearing to be just another passenger on a routine holiday flight. Flight 305 was a routine 30-minute journey across the Columbia River to Seattle, an ordinary flight that would soon make history. There were only 36 passengers and a crew of 6 on board that afternoon. To everyone inside, it was just another routine flight. Cooper chose seat 18C, near the rear of the aircraft. A small decision that would later become one of the most significant details in the entire case. At the time, it seemed like an ordinary seat, near the rear of the aircraft. No one could have known that this small would soon become a defining part of one of aviation's greatest unsolved mysteries. Shortly after takeoff, Flight 305 settled into what seemed like an ordinary journey. No one on board could have imagined what would happen next. A quiet passenger politely asked for the flight attendant's attention. At first, nothing about the moment seemed unusual. The passenger quietly handed the flight attendant a folded note. At first, she believed it was nothing more than an ordinary message. When she unfolded the note, she realized it was unlike anything she had ever expected. In an instant, an ordinary flight took a very different turn.
When she unfolded the note, she realized it was unlike anything she had ever expected. In an instant, an ordinary flight took a very different turn.
Without causing panic, she realized the situation was far more serious than it first appeared. Yet throughout the cabin, everything still seemed perfectly normal. The conversation remained calm and unnoticed by everyone else on board. The flight attendant remained remarkably calm. She quietly took a seat beside the passenger, carefully listening while keeping the rest of the cabin completely at ease.
A brief glimpse inside the case was enough to convince her that the situation was real. Despite the growing tension, she remained calm and professional.
From the outside, it was an ordinary flight. Inside, a quiet conversation was about to change aviation history forever. The passenger presented a series of demands that immediately transformed a routine flight into one of the most extraordinary investigations in aviation history.
The crew quietly contacted authorities while maintaining a calm and orderly flight. Center, we are maintaining flight level 330. The passengers remained unaware.
Throughout the cabin, the journey appeared completely routine. The passengers had no idea they were part of a moment that would become one of aviation history's greatest mysteries.
The flight crew quietly relayed critical information to ground control.
Ground control, Clipper 102 maintaining flight level 330.
While maintaining a calm and orderly
On the ground, authorities immediately began coordinating a large-scale response. Every passing minute increased the urgency as teams worked together behind the scenes. While the aircraft remained in the sky above Seattle, precious time allowed preparations to continue on the ground. To those watching below, it appeared to be across the city, officials worked against the clock, gathering the requested items and preparing for the aircraft's arrival. Every minute mattered. At the same time, aviation equipment was carefully assembled and inspected as preparations continued. Every detail was handled with precision as events unfolded on the ground. The specific equipment requested suggested a surprising level of aviation knowledge. Investigators would later consider that detail one of the many clues in this enduring mystery. Back on board, the atmosphere remained remarkably calm. To the passengers, it was simply another routine flight through the evening sky. Throughout the flight, the passenger remained calm, polite, and respectful toward the cabin crew. To everyone around him, he appeared to be just another courteous traveler. He quietly ordered a drink, paid in cash, and thanked the flight attendant with remarkable courtesy. Nothing about his behavior suggested the extraordinary events that would soon unfold. Despite the extraordinary circumstances, the passenger remained unexpectedly courteous and considerate toward the cabin crew, maintaining a calm and respectful demeanor throughout the flight. He appeared calm, composed, and completely in control. To everyone around him, he remained an ordinary passenger on an ordinary flight. No one on board that evening could have imagined they were witnessing the beginning of one of aviation's most enduring mysteries. What seemed like an ordinary flight would soon become part of history. Just after 5:30 in the evening, the aircraft touched down safely. To those watching from the terminal, it appeared to be nothing more than another routine arrival. As evening settled over the airport, normal travel continued without interruption. For most people, it was simply another ordinary day of air travel.
As the aircraft remained on the ground, only the flight crew stayed on board. They continued their duties with remarkable professionalism while events quietly unfolded around them.
On the ground, preparations continued with quiet precision. 2 large sealed bags were delivered to the aircraft as part of the ongoing operation. With careful coordination, the requested items were brought to the aircraft. Every step was carried out quietly as the operation continued. The passenger carefully examined the delivered items. Satisfied with what he found, he quietly prepared for what would come next. As darkness settled over the airport, the next chapter of the mystery was about to begin. What followed would ensure this flight would never be forgotten. A new set of flight instructions was quietly communicated to the crew. Their professionalism never wavered as they prepared for the next stage of the journey. With preparations complete, the aircraft began moving once again. From the outside, everything appeared calm and routine, even as history continued to unfold. The aircraft continued its journey into the night, while the mystery grew deeper with every passing mile.
The aircraft maintained a steady and carefully controlled flight, while every movement was monitored with precision. Every technical detail was handled with remarkable precision, reflecting the discipline and professionalism inside the cockpit.
The remarkable precision of the instructions suggested an uncommon understanding of aviation, one of the many clues that would puzzle investigators for decades.
At 7:40 p.m., the aircraft lifted off once again, disappearing into the stormy night over the Pacific Northwest.
Now, only the flight crew remained on board, maintaining complete focus as the aircraft continued through the night. The crew remained inside the cockpit, fully focused on flying the aircraft as the journey continued into the stormy night.
Around 8 p.m., a warning light appeared on the instrument panel, signaling that something had changed.
The aircraft continued through the stormy night, while the mystery deepened with every passing mile. A few minutes later, the crew felt a brief, unexpected jolt. At the time, no one could know its true significance.
In that quiet moment, one of aviation's greatest mysteries entered history. What happened next remains unknown to this day.
By now, the mysterious passenger was no longer on board. The mystery had only just begun.
Below stretched miles of dense forests and rugged wilderness, hiding secrets that remain unsolved to this day. Unaware of what had already happened, the crew continued the flight exactly as planned. Later that night, the aircraft landed safely for its scheduled stop, bringing the remarkable flight to an end. After the aircraft came to a stop, officials began a careful inspection. They were about to discover that the mystery had only grown deeper. The aircraft was there, but the mysterious passenger was gone. Without a single confirmed trace, the legend of D.B. Cooper had begun. Immediately after the incident, one of the largest investigations in FBI history began. The investigation was given the code name Norjack. This was short for Northwest Hijacking. It would become one of the FBI's most famous cases. Search teams carefully examined the remote wilderness, hoping to uncover the first real clue. Investigators interviewed hundreds of people and followed thousands of leads, searching for the one clue that could solve the mystery. Despite years of searching and countless leads, the mystery refused to reveal its final answer. Despite an enormous investigation, very little evidence was ever found. One of the most important pieces of evidence was a simple black clip-on tie left behind on the aircraft. Investigators carefully analyzed every fingerprint they recovered, but none could be linked to a known identity. Years later, advanced forensic analysis revealed microscopic particles. They offered investigators an unexpected new clue. The microscopic particles suggested a possible connection to the aerospace industry, opening an entirely new direction for investigators. As the investigation expanded, every clue was carefully examined in the search for the mysterious man's true identity. One question remained unanswered. Who was he, and how did he disappear without a trace? Using witness descriptions, investigators created a composite sketch of the mysterious passenger in hopes that someone would recognize him. Witnesses described a calm, middle-aged man with dark hair, olive complexion, and piercing eyes, an ordinary appearance that concealed an extraordinary mystery. Those who met him remembered a calm voice, polite manners, and remarkable composure. Nothing about his behavior seemed out of the ordinary. The precision of the planning suggested an unusual understanding of aviation, leading investigators to explore every possible clue.
As new evidence emerged, investigators began re-examining their earliest assumptions, searching for answers hidden in the smallest details.
A reserve parachute became an important piece of evidence, offering investigators another clue in the search for the truth. Investigators carefully recorded every serial number, hoping the records would someday provide a crucial breakthrough. The information was quickly shared with financial institutions across the country, expanding the search nationwide. Banks across the country remained alert, carefully checking their records for any sign that could help solve the mystery. Despite years of careful monitoring, no significant trace ever emerged. The mystery remained unsolved. Nearly 9 years later, the mystery took an unexpected turn along the banks of the Columbia River. During a family outing at Tina Bar, 8-year-old Brian Ingram played along the quiet riverbank, unaware that history was about to reveal another clue. While playing in the sand, Brian noticed something unusual just beneath the surface. Hidden beneath the sand were 3 weathered bundles, an unexpected discovery that would reopen one of aviation's greatest mysteries. Investigators confirmed that the discovery was connected to the long-running case, marking the first major breakthrough in years. It was the only confirmed discovery ever linked to the case. Yet instead of solving the mystery, it raised even more questions. The remarkable discovery reignited public fascination, bringing the decades-old mystery back into the national spotlight. Investigators explored every possible explanation, but the river kept its secrets. No single theory could fully explain what had happened. Extensive searches continued along the river and surrounding wilderness, but no additional clues were ever found. Despite countless hours of searching, no additional evidence was ever recovered. Instead of solving the mystery, the discovery only deepened it. The Columbia River kept its secrets, and the legend of D.B. Cooper endured. Over the decades, investigators examined more than 1,000 potential suspects, following every lead in search of the truth. Many suspects were carefully investigated, but one after another, they were eliminated from the case.
One suspect attracted significant public attention, but investigators continued to examine the evidence before reaching any conclusions.
Investigators carefully compared witness descriptions with the available evidence, searching for a match that could finally solve the mystery. After careful review, the evidence did not support the theory. The investigation moved on, and the mystery remained unsolved. As the years passed, more names surfaced, and investigators continued exploring every possible lead in the search for the truth. Each new theory offered another possibility, but none provided a definitive answer to the mystery. Investigators examined numerous confessions and claims over the years, but none could be independently verified. As forensic technology advanced, investigators re-examined the evidence using modern DNA analysis in hopes of finding new answers. Despite advances in forensic science, the results remained inconclusive, leaving the mystery unsolved. Decades later, the identity of D.B. Cooper remains unknown. His disappearance continues to stand as one of aviation's greatest unsolved mysteries. For 45 years, investigators pursued every possible lead, yet the mystery remained unsolved. Investigators followed leads across the country, and even beyond, searching for the one clue that could finally solve the case. As technology advanced, investigators re-examined every available clue, hoping modern science could reveal what decades of searching had not. Despite decades of investigation, no definitive identification was ever made. The mystery remained unsolved. In July 2016, the active investigation was officially suspended, bringing decades of searching to a close. Although the active investigation ended, the case file was preserved for history, allowing future generations to continue exploring the mystery. Though the active investigation came to an end, the legend of D.B. Cooper lives on, one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in aviation history. Even after the official investigation ended, the search for answers continued. Researchers and historians kept exploring new theories. Journalists and independent researchers continued to revisit the evidence, searching for clues that might have been overlooked. The black clip-on tie remained one of the most important pieces of evidence, continuing to attract scientific attention decades later. Some researchers believed the microscopic particles found on the tie pointed toward a possible connection with the aerospace industry. Others focused on the harsh conditions that night: heavy rain, strong winds, and a vast wilderness that offered few answers.
The severe weather and remote landscape made that night's events extraordinarily difficult to reconstruct, adding another layer to the enduring mystery.
More than half a century later, the debate continues. The legend of D.B. Cooper remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. The discovery along the Columbia River raised a new wave of questions, prompting investigators to re-examine the evidence from every angle. Experts re-examined the aircraft's route and the river's movement, searching for clues that might explain the discovery. Some researchers believe the river itself may have carried and deposited the evidence over time, though no theory could be proven. Others believe the mysterious man may have lived out the rest of his life in complete anonymity, but no evidence ever confirmed that theory. The harsh weather and unforgiving terrain made the events of that night extraordinarily difficult to reconstruct, leaving investigators with more questions than answers. Decades later, no single theory has answered every question. The mystery of D.B. Cooper remains as compelling today as ever. To this day, D.B. Cooper remains a ghost in history, a mystery that continues to captivate the world. He was remembered as calm under pressure, methodical in his actions, and composed from beginning to end. The case reshaped aviation security, inspiring changes that continue to protect air travel today. Over the years, airport security became far more advanced, helping make aircraft hijackings far less common. Yet the most important questions were never answered. His identity, his motive, and his fate remain unknown. Somewhere within these vast landscapes, the final chapter of the story may still remain hidden, waiting to be discovered.
More than 50 years later, the identity, the motive, and the fate of D.B. Cooper remain unknown. His story endures as one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in aviation.
Perhaps the truth was lost forever in the vast wilderness. No one knows what truly happened after that unforgettable night. Or perhaps he quietly disappeared into ordinary life, carrying a secret that no one else would ever fully understand. The investigation came to an end, but the mystery never did. The legend continued to grow with every passing year. In the end, the story became greater than the man himself. A mystery that continues to inspire curiosity around the world. More than half a century later, D.B. Cooper's greatest legacy is not the money he took, but the mystery he left behind. A mystery that continues to capture our imagination.
An ordinary-looking man with remarkable determination became one of history's most enduring legends, leaving behind a mystery that still fascinates the world today.
In a world that demands answers, some mysteries endure, not because they lack clues, but because they refuse to be solved. If you had one chance to disappear completely, would you take it? Or leave the mystery unsolved forever? Perhaps the greatest mysteries aren't hidden in distant places, but among ordinary people, living ordinary lives, carrying extraordinary secrets. The mystery is yours now. What do you believe happened to D.B. Cooper? Share your theory and join us for more true mysteries. Today, the skies over Washington are quiet. But the mystery of D.B. Cooper still lingers in the silence. Every November, when the rain returns and the wind whispers through the evergreens, the legend of D.B. Cooper comes alive once again. More than 50 years later, one question still echoes through history. Did D.B. Cooper really get away with it? If D.B. Cooper truly escaped, where is he now? Perhaps the answer is still hidden somewhere in the mist, waiting to be discovered.